pads are unique. You know, they almost have kind of an egg crate look to them. Mike Phillips, autogeek.com, and with me is Dave Patterson, and he's in charge of new product development for Lake Country. And Dave, what are we looking at here? Tell me about these pads. What's the purpose of this design to the face of the pad?
All right, so these are our OEM style, our Pro line waffle pads, and the convolute or waffle pattern, like you said, is a textured face to reduce pad chatter or hop when used on a high-speed rotary machine or a low-speed rotary machine. But
Sure.
on a rotary tool, it helps break the surface friction and it reduces that pad hop or chatter as the pad heats up.
Gotcha. And now you said these are OEM replacements. So typically the OEM, that's original equipment manufacturer. You're talking about the manufacturers of cars, you know, Ford, Dodge, Chevy, Honda, places like this that actually make the cars. So at some point they're polishing the paint, they're using a pad like this?
Yep, so it's kind of going to be found in the OEM type area or in the body shop or paint world, where waffle pads are very popular, especially larger rotary pads.
Yeah.
But the smaller spot buff pads are what is really utilized by a lot of the OEMs because typically they're just spot repairing.
Sure.
So these are great for all types of rotary polishing specifically, but the smaller pads work great for spot repair, denibbing, or just small rid repair.
Sure. Well, I know that by breaking up the surface texture like this, it does make it a lot smoother. And if you've never buffed with the rotary buffer, that's one of the tools that actually takes the most skill to operate correctly. And usually, you know, you're going to want to anchor your feet and brace yourself and start running that polisher, because a traditional pad may want to tend to like yank you all over the place because of that increased surface tension.
Yeah.
So by breaking it up like this with what looks like little hills and valleys,
Yep.
it's going to make it a lot smoother.
Yeah, and on a rotary tool, as your pad increases in diameter, your rotating mass is obviously a lot larger, and what that does is create a lot more heat, and it can heat up and skip and hop and kind of chatter around a lot more. So the waffle pattern becomes more beneficial as the larger pad sizes come into play, specifically for that reason.
Yeah, I've actually been to places where they build motorhomes and then paint them. So we're talking huge flat surfaces, and this is the pad of choice for buffing out those large surfaces,
Yeah.
which, you know, you're going to want a big pad when you're buffing out something 40 feet long going down both sides and the caps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I noticed that these are actually quite a bit thinner than a traditional convoluted pad.
Yep.
So is there a benefit to the thinness when you're using gear drive rotary?
Well, I think when you get into the larger pads, the thinner profile doesn't necessarily lose its body as much. When you're specifically looking at a smaller pad, sometimes the thickness can be more of a factor in it, but in these larger pads, it's not necessarily the same case. With the smaller pads, it's not a big deal either because the tool's smaller.
Yeah.
Having less foam actually provides less foam movement. So the
It's more stable.
Yeah, it's more stable, it's more durable. So if you were to compare our old waffle pads versus our new design, we've went thinner.
Yeah.
And then we've also altered the profile so that it's an exact fit, easier to put on your vacuum.
You know, I actually have some antique foam pads in my office, and back in the early days of car detailing when foam pads were invented and first made, they're all about 1.5 inches thick.
Yep.
Look where we've come from back then.
I know.
Everything now is pretty much thin.
Yeah.
Now, I know that when it comes to a gear drive, thin isn't as much of a factor as a free spinning, because with free spinning like this tool right here, anytime you got a thicker pad, part of that thickness is going to absorb the power and dissipate it, whereas a gear drive is going to churn and turn no matter what you throw on there.
Yep.
But for stability reasons, that does make sense.
Yeah, and I think it's challenging for newer detailers or people that like to detail on the weekends with a thicker pad, because there's a lot of other variables that come into play, and it can cause problems that they're not understanding. So along with what you just said, the thicker pads can absorb more polish, so they can actually increase the weight, and you'll have a pad that goes from a slow rotation to stalling, and now it's full of extra product. I got extra weight, and it spins all over the place. So
especially with newbies and they're putting too much product on anyway.
yeah. So not only is it more beneficial for durability and performance, it's just overall it's more user friendly and easier to understand.
The thinner pad kind of bubba-proofs the whole overall process. Now, let's talk about the colors, because everybody gets confused by the different colors and what they mean.
Yeah.
I noticed we've got a white pad, a black pad, and a blue pad in the 8-inch here. You got a little orange one over here. Does the larger one also come in the orange?
The larger one does not come in the orange. So in your standard lineup, it's a white cutting pad, a black foam polishing pad, and then a blue final finishing pad or ultra fine pad.
This one's like super soft.
Yep, extra soft.
I noticed it's very, very tight pour too. Like actually, they all are very small pour.
Yeah. So the black foam is an 80 pour. When you get into that ultra fine foam, it's about a 90 pour. So it is finer. These have been a staple. Like that color system has been a staple for over a decade. When you get into the smaller pads, the white foam isn't as aggressive. I think that's kind of hard to understand, but a lot of different things happen when you change foam thickness and diameter on a polisher.
Mm-hmm.
The performance and the things that happen changed pretty drastically. So in this pad line, the orange foam replaces the white in the smaller pads. It's more beneficial and performs better for spot repairing. So even though this one feels more aggressive,
it does. I can feel a sharpness when I run my hand on the side there.
Yeah, unfortunately, when this foam comes into about 3.5-inch size, it feels pretty soft, and it doesn't have that same cutting ability.
Got it. Then as far as the size goes in relationship to the thickness, these can be used with any tool, any compound, any polish, even cleaner waxes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just pretty much versatile?
Yeah, it's pretty versatile. I mean, ideally, these two specific sizes are probably geared towards specific machines. The large pads are obviously going to be for a rotary tool.
Rotary, yeah.
Not too many DA tools on the market offer a backing plate that size or perform that way. But the smaller pads, when you get into the spot buff pads or even a 5.5-inch or 6.5-inch pads, are very versatile. The Waffle profile isn't too pronounced where they perform very, very well on DA polisher, but still get that same benefit that you want from a rotary.
Got it. Well, it looks like a nice set of pads and something for everybody from Lake Country.
Yeah.
For more information on these pads, visit autogeek.com. For more videos like these or how-tos, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yeah, I kind of remember when this style was first introduced, I was actually calling on a body shop when I saw them. That was years and years ago, so it's great to see how far technology's come.
I know, it's changed.